Hey, Sharv here. Today I have a special video that I've been looking forward to for a while. My 1-year anniversary in the furry community was on January 4th, and I wanted to do something special to mark the occasion. So I'm going to be talking about my first year in the fandom and what that's been like for me. So let's charge into this video. Why did I join the community in the first place, you might ask? Well, I was always a socially awkward, closeted gay, and genderqueer theater kid who only felt comfortable playing some other character because I was never allowed to be myself. On top of that, I always had a fondness for movies with anthropomorphized animal characters like Robin Hood, Brother Bear, Alvin and the Chipmunks, that sort of thing. I was also into artwork, but a lot of what I drew leaned into the darker, grittier side of things back then. I made one furry OC, and it turned out pretty well, but I never really followed through with it at that point in my life. A lot of the assumptions of the furry fandom from the outside kept me from ever leaning into it and exploring what it could mean for me. Eventually, after I graduated high school, my mental health issues and family issues made me drop artwork altogether. Trying harder to stop being queer, I got married to a woman, but it fell apart after 4 years and I moved back to my hometown to finish my degree closer to home. I didn't have any friends, and the pressure of staying in the closet got worse over time until I finally had to make a change and start being myself. I left my religion behind and came out, got a boyfriend, and started learning about who I was without all of the pressure to be someone else. My mental health improved and I started drawing again. I found it a struggle at first, but I started to get better, and I soon realized I preferred drawing Lizalfos and Bowser over Mario and Princess Peach. This is when I started to wonder if the furry community was about more than just the fursuits and the adult content. I started exploring furry content on YouTube and found BetaEtaDelota's video titled How I Found and Joined the Furry Fandom, and fell into the proverbial rabbit hole. I wondered if I needed a fursuit to be a furry. I found a video by Coyote saying the answer was no. The more I learned, the more I realized I could be a part of this if I wanted to be. And so I made it official on January 4th, 2022. I watched as much furry content as I could in the first few weeks, learning everything I could about the fandom. Coyote has an amazing documentary she made called The Fandom, which made me feel really good about the decision I had made to step into the community. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking out the links section in the description below. In the early weeks, I started thinking about what I wanted for a Fursona. I didn't want to use the furry squirrel character that I had made a while back for a school project, and I didn't want anything too flashy or too common. I watched more videos, but a few I really took to were Solarsaber's How to Make a Fursona and Pocari's Deciding Your Fursona tips. Using these videos as a baseline, I made a black and gray bull with green eyes to represent the green on the agender flag. I put the ace colors in the background since I'm demisexual, and the first version of Sharv was born January 15th. By this point, I had realized a lot of the YouTubers I watched also did live streams on Twitch, so I set up an account and did my best to watch on the terrible rural DSL internet that I was using at the time. I found even more content creators who I've followed ever since, like CosmicWuff, Skaifox, Deadanthro, and Divione. Seeing so many furry content creators inspired me to want to try doing some things for myself. I knew I couldn't do live streams on my internet, but I did start doing more artwork and started a weekly Fan Art Friday upload series on YouTube. It never had much traffic, but I really started to feel like I was a part of something for the first time in a long time. Everything was going well. It was April and I was excited to be graduating from my BA program in a few weeks. Then, I was traveling home from a late dinner at my school and a moose ran out in front of me. There was no time to react and I hit it and then went into the ditch. I had a broken spine in 2 places, with my neck being in especially rough shape. Suddenly I was in hospital on bed rest for 5 days, unable to get up because of the risk of damage to my spinal cord. Nobody could visit me because I tested positive for COVID, which also meant that they couldn't do surgery, which would have helped stabilize my neck sooner. If it weren't for the emotional support of the communities I had found, I'm not sure that I would have been able to get through this as well as I have. I felt totally uninspired to do art for a while after the accident, but while I was still in the hospital I did manage to set up well enough to do one piece. I'm not sure why this is what I drew, but it felt right at the time. It was still too difficult to do a lot of precise drawing because I couldn't move my head at all, and I felt really discouraged. Once I got home, I was able to use a recliner and have an HDMI cable from my laptop to the TV, so I had a better angle for the display, and I started drawing again. I made a few emojis, and then the version of Sharv that I used for my PNG tuber the first several months. My partner had moved in with me to help me around the house, since I was still unable to bathe myself properly or prepare meals. In that time, we learned that we couldn't stay at the rural house anymore since I couldn't drive and it was hard to get to appointments, and we were unable to use the internet well at the same time. I moved to his place in the city in June, but it meant that the only way that I had to draw wasn't available anymore. To keep my mind busy, I started streaming some games on my laptop, starting with some old games I really liked to pass the time. Slowly, I started to heal from the injuries. Unfortunately, it isn't just physical injuries I'm left dealing with, and some of the impacts on my mental health are being a bit more persistent, but I'm still slowly recovering. Two months after I started streaming, on August 13th, I was invited to the Twitch affiliate program. It was a huge step for me and a big boost to my confidence. I really felt like I could make something of this, and it felt good to be able to entertain again after so many years off stage. Since then, my channel has still seen some good growth, but there have been some things that I have had to process through. Sometimes it's difficult seeing a new streamer start out and seemingly succeed effortlessly. I've had to learn to be okay with the slow growth that I've had and enjoy the process. Sometimes something you put out gets a lot of traction, and it can be hard not to feel disappointed if it doesn't have any lasting impact. One of my biggest supports outside of my partner has been Divione and his husband Lunar. Lunar helped with my average viewer count on Twitch, and Div has helped both in emotional support when I felt disillusioned with streaming, and by going out of his way to help promote me to his audience on his own volition. Overall, though, I would say that slowly building an audience who comes back to see me rather than to see a specific content is what I'm striving for, and I'm learning to be okay with that. I've learned more about the value of community support and how incredible it feels as a small creator seeing someone a bit bigger striving to help you find your own place. It's hard to say how things are going to go moving forward. I'm almost well enough to work regular hours, and the bills need to be paid. Unfortunately, being a cow on the internet isn't doing it for me yet. I've started doing art raffles on Twitter, and I'm hoping to be able to continue putting one out each week, even if I need to get a conventional job. Streaming could be a bit more of a challenge, but I don't want to give up entirely. Without a job to base it off of, I can't say what it would look like. In the meantime, though, I'll continue making content on Twitch and Twitter, at least as long as Twitter survives. I've also been kicking off a Patreon, where I give access to some art downloads and extra opportunities to get free custom art from me. There isn't much available there yet, but I'm looking forward to being able to add more content in the coming year. I wanted to add a Q&A section into the end of this video, so I asked members of the community to shoot me a question in chat or on Twitter. Here's what they came up with. Banjo asks, top or bottom? Banjo, you are my boyfriend. You know the answer to this question. Lunar asks, what has surprised you the most about the community and what has surprised you the least? I really like this question. I think what surprised me the most about the community is how many people are around my age. There are a lot of nearly 30s or just a bit older furs in the community, and I expected there to be more of a trend of 25 and under than 50 plus after they get old enough to stop caring. I'm not at all surprised, though, that the community is mostly made up of queer and or neurodivergent people. I mean, I fit both of these categories. I think part of it is that we're just less inclined to try and fit the prescribed social models since we already can't fit them on a fundamental level, but I don't know. Dangerous Clonesard asks, what got you into the fandom? Well, as I kind of talked about earlier on in the video, a lot of it was to do with the art and just wanting to explore what I could do with art, as well as just wanting to find out who I am as a person, and I found that easier to do and navigate through my Fursona Sharv than I've been able to do on my own. Slow Panda asks, do you plan on getting a fursuit in the future? I think plan is probably a bit of a strong word for it. I would really like to get a fursuit at some point, but given how costly they can be, I don't really know if that's gonna happen anytime soon. But a cow can dream. That's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. What was your first year in the furry community like? Leave a comment below. I know this isn't my typical video format, but if you liked this, leave a like and subscribe and I'll think about making some more. And keep an eye on my socials for updates. Thanks for watching. Bye!